Master Shen, this here is Sergeant Gaunt, in charge of investigating your brother's case.
Family of the deceased. The investigation into this case is done and dusted. Sign here.
Sergeant Gaunt, I can't sign it yet.
What you say?
My brother won't kill himself.
You questioning the police, are you?
No. I just feel that.
Mr. Shen, we hold your brother's case in the highest regard, very seriously. Suicide is the conclusion reached after meticulous investigation and careful consideration. Whether it's Joseph or the more experienced Sergeant Gaunt, both are on board with this conclusion.
Ain't you here to collect the remains? No signature, no go with the rest of the bleeding paperwork.
哥哥绝不会自杀。可是，如果我签署了这份文件，就意味着这个案子尘埃落定了。我不能就这样轻易签字。哥哥，你到底经历了什么？这种感觉，似乎什么地方不对劲。
Mr. Shen, are you feeling unwell?
A voice tells me that there is an inconsistency between a certain item I saw earlier and the documents in my hands. Officers, I noticed that the letter B is marked on each folder. Is this the police station's code or identifier?
Aye, that's our station code. We're mainly responsible for security in Kensington.
The map indicates that the house where the murder occurred is located in the city of Westminster. On the map, Westminster is labeled with the code A.
You questioning if we ain't got the authority?
I'm just raising a reasonable doubt.
I've mentioned to you before, we received the initial distress telegram. That day, I showed Joseph the distress telegram. He knew the address, so we went together.
The person who sent the telegram is crucial. He is likely a key witness. We should continue.
The scene's a locked room, and the only fingerprints on the murder weapon are your brother's. Just these two bits alone are enough to peg it as a suicide. Unless you can cough up some proper evidence, go on and get out of my sight.
Hmm? 哥哥，什么是侦探呀？
侦探也像旅行家一样四处冒险，但他们总能发现别人注意不到的细节。
说不定有什么细节被我忽略掉了。
If you claim my brother stabbed himself, this piece of evidence seems peculiar. Officers, something still puzzles me. The fingerprints found on the dagger belong to my brother's left index and thumb. And the fingerprints are located at the end of the knife handle. It seems that he wasn't gripping the dagger, but rather holding it between two fingers. In this position, how could he have stabbed himself in the chest with the dagger?
Clearly, that ain't the way he held the dagger when he offed himself.
But if he held the dagger in a different way, there should have been more fingerprints left.
Not necessarily.
We speculate your brother held the dagger through his shirt sleeves. No fingerprints were left.
If he intended to kill himself, why would he avoid leaving fingerprints on the dagger?
That doesn't matter.
You!
Mr. Shin, do I get upset? We're not trying to make things difficult for you deliberately. The detail you're questioning, even if it's in doubt, it's dinna change the conclusion. It was a locked room. Door, windows, skylight, all locked from inside. The only key was in your brother's hand. There is nae a second person who could have committed the act in such a situation.
Are there truly no other possibilities?
有没有可能，凶手提前复制了一把钥匙呢？
神先生，我跟你说过，握在你哥哥手中的，是房间唯一的钥匙。
复制一把钥匙并不是多复杂的事。
你对你的无知一无所知。显而易见的问题，警方会考虑不到。
郑夫人家的钥匙采用了一种独特的东方设计，你在案卷中见过的。我找了不少锁匠来核实过，没人能做出一模一样的。
当真如此吗？可，郑阿姨的家里为何要用那么复杂的钥匙和锁？
原因不重要，重要的是，这让案发现场成为了一个密室。
应该还有其他的可能性存在。房间唯一的钥匙在哥哥手里，更可能是因为凶手。也许凶手锁好门后，又用某种方式将钥匙送了回来。
哦，通过哪里送回来？
大概率还是通过门送回钥匙，毕竟门是房间唯一的出入口。
可是，凶手要怎样通过门把钥匙送回被害人手中呢？
凶手或许可以利用屋内的某些物品制作机关。
机关？什么机关能把钥匙准确地送回被害人手中？
首先，凶手要用这件物品将钥匙和哥哥的手连接起来。凶手很可能是利用这卷摩斯码纸盘，将钥匙收入屋内的。
摩斯码纸盘？
纸袋的内侧比较脏，有一些磨损痕迹。我怀疑，这是纸袋在地上拖行所产生的痕迹。
不可行。首先，电报机的朝向就是问题。电报机上的纸盘指向实验桌的方向，而不是指向房门。其次，从空间上看，电报机、被害人和房门并不在一条直线上。这里不仅有角度差，还有高度差。小子，现在你来告诉我，凶手是怎么用纸袋把钥匙送回你哥哥手中的？
仅凭纸袋是不够的，凶手应该还用到了房间中的一些其他物品。究竟哪些物品构成了机关？它们又是怎样运转的？我需要把思路好好整理一下。
So that's how it is. Officers, I know how the killer returned the key.
Mr. Shen, then please, share your thoughts.
The killer indeed used the code paper strip to transport the key. He inserted one end of the paper strip into the key's chain hole and bent it back in reverse. Used my brother's hand to hold onto the strip. Next, used a candle to change the direction of the strip and keep it down with a low stool. Installed the reel onto the phonograph. When the phonograph was activated, it retrieved the paper strip and pulled back the key. The key had resistance when passing through the hand, causing the strip to detach. Then, the key stayed in his hand. This is the method the killer used to return the key.
Interesting.
Since the Morse code paper reel is not a component of the phonograph, we all instinctively assumed that it could only be installed on the telegraph machine. But in fact, the telegraph machine can't retrieve paper strips. What truly aided the killer in this scheme was the phonograph by the desk.
The phonograph can have so many uses.
Officers, please take a look. The phonograph's tone arm continuously shifts to the right during music play. The tone arm pushes the paper reel away and the reel rolled into the position where it was found. So, the killer's artifice of creating a locked room illusion stands completely exposed.
Mr. Shen, that's truly an enlightening deduction.
What's your opinion, Sergeant Gaunt?
Your speculation does have a certain level of plausibility.
Could the police say that?
But speculation is just speculation. Cracking a case comes down to evidence and facts.
My statements are backed by factual evidence.
Your speculation does seem to explain some of the phenomena at the scene. But there are still fatal contradictions between it and some crucial facts.
What facts?
Time. Between 1:40 and 2:30 that afternoon, the cafe downstairs heard uninterrupted phonograph music. If the killer turned on the phonograph to transport the key back into the room, then before 1:40 he must have locked the door and left the scene. According to autopsy, your brother's time of death is estimated to be between 2 and 3. Of course, it can be narrowed down further to 2 to 2:28. He was dead when the police arrived. You catch what this implies? Even following your speculation, your brother got stabbed after the killer left the room. Well, that blows the foundation of this reasoning out of the water, doesn't it?
Is it possible he was attacked before 1:50, with death occurring after 2 o'clock?
You know he died from a weapon piercing the left pulmonary artery, causing sudden cardiac arrest. In other words, he died instantly, right after getting stabbed. The bloodstains at the scene confirmed that as well.
Could this situation be due to Since the door was locked first, then the murder, the killer likely employed a method to delay the time of the murder.
How can that be possible? There are no signs of binding or defense wounds on your brother's body. Would he just stand by and watch the killer set up a killing mechanism?
I suspect my brother had lost the ability to move at that time because my brother's autopsy report is the best evidence. Officer Jones mentioned that most contortions are related to paralysis of the back nerves. I suspect the killer used anesthetic drugs on my brother.
We've suggested this direction early on, but toxicology results came back all negative.
Perhaps a substance undetectable with current forensic expertise.
Can't confirm or deny that possibility. But before delving into the drug angle, a more pressing question is, if there was no one in the room at the time, how did the weapon pierce the victim's chest? No crossbows or similar devices were found at the scene.
Officer Jones, was the dagger vertical to the ground at that time?
At that time, the body was in a contorted position, the chest almost parallel to the ground. The dagger was thrust vertically into his chest. It can be considered as vertical to the ground.
Vertical to the ground. And the location where my brother was murdered happened to be directly beneath the skylight. This is likely not a coincidence.
Are you suspecting the killer hung the dagger on the skylight? On second thought, the skylight is very high and it's impossible to reach without a ladder. But Mrs. Cheng's house doesn't have a ladder. There were no signs of anything being moved at the crime scene. How was the dagger hung up then? It can't have flown there, can it?
Officer Jones, you reminded me. This item made me realize how the killer suspended the dagger.
Mr. Shin's suggesting the photograph along with the dagger took off?
He means the lantern in the photo. That idea does have a touch of imagination to it.
But can a lantern truly carry a dagger and take off?
At room temperature, air density is 0.08 of a pound per cubic foot, while hot air in the lantern is 0.06 of a pound per cubic foot. 35 cubic feet volume lantern, excluding its own weight, can lift an object weighing up to 9.17 ounces. The dagger weighs 5.64 ounces, requiring only 24 cubic feet of lantern volume to lift it.
Sergeant Gaunt's calculations are precise and admirable.
Never thought Sergeant Gaunt's math skills were so deep and unbelievable.
Just a bit of a private hobby, you know.
So why wasn't there a lantern found at the crime scene?
I got it! The asbestos mesh serves as the base support for the lantern, with a stone wax as the heat source. This partially burned piece of paper should be part of the lampshade. On the lab table, there's a stack of identical, large, lightweight sheets of paper.
I dinna ken what method the killer used to completely burn the lampshade like that.
I believe the lampshade must have been brushed with kerosene. When the flames spread, it could burn down the entire sky lantern.
No wonder there were paper ashes on your brother's body.
The position where the lantern hangs from the ceiling was not controllable. How did the killer ensure that the falling dagger would definitely stab the victim? Besides, about the death time delayed, how did he control the timing of the dagger's descent?
There should be another mechanism at the scene, composed of a sky lantern and some other items. So that's how it is. The ring at the end of the dagger's handle shows signs of scorching. There are scorch marks on the skylight frame as well. And the location where my brother was murdered happened to be directly beneath the skylight. That's the killer's plan.
Go on then, let's hear it.
The reason the killer placed my brother right beneath the skylight is because the skylight is concave, feasible to fix the sky lantern to its window frame. Then, he tied the kerosene-soaked cotton thread to a candle. After arranging the key, paper, and phonograph, he could leave the room and lock the door. Before long, the candle burned down to the cotton thread that suspended the dagger. Finally, the dagger fell vertically, piercing my brother's chest. My brother's death is definitely not a suicide. It's murder. The killer is still at large.
For someone without professional training, you are quite impressive. You do have a natural talent for detective work, indeed. However, this particular dagger tips the scales at a mere 190 grams. Falling from the skylight, could it veritably penetrate your brother's heart? Perhaps it behooves us to undertake an experiment.
I'm awfully sorry, Mr. Shen. We've given it our all, tried every which way, but we just can't mimic the scenario you put forth.
But those mechanisms, why?
I do ken how you're feeling, but I'm fearing we're at a standstill with no breakthroughs in sight.